Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-hosts, Richie O'Leary and Alec Crowdhamel. We're going to talk about everything Greg Schiano had to say at his Maryland Game Week presser, which was earlier today. And we'll get into a little bit of around the Big Ten talk, or I guess earlier yesterday, rather. But before we get into any of that, this podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to get in on the opening night action for Rutgers men's basketball tonight, Rutgers is an 18.5 point favorite against Rider, and the over-under is 146.5. It seems like a lot of points for Rutgers to cover with a team that we don't really know a whole lot about yet. So I would definitely bet the opposite side of this one. I think plus 18.5 is that's a lot of points to cover. But why don't we get right into Greg Schiano's presser, and after that we can react and talk about what Greg said. But without further ado, I'm going to share that now. It's so bright out, can't find my cursor. Sorry about that. Let's see what ads YouTube has for us today.
Oh, I can guess.
All right, guys, thanks for coming out. Appreciate you covering us. So great opportunity here with Maryland coming to town. We came out of the Illinois game. It was a physical game. We're a little banged up, but we're going to rally up and get ready to play. And by Saturday, our guys are going to be prepared and physically and mentally and emotionally ready to go. And we'll go out and give it every ounce of energy we got. So with that, I'll open for questions.
Greg, you're a defensive coach, obviously. Has this year been more frustrating than others, just not being able to get that side of the ball going for you personally?
When you're as a head coach as many years as I've been, you kind of lose that, whether you're offensively or defensive or your special teams. You become everything after a while, right? Did I come up in the ranks as a defensive coach? Absolutely. I love defense. I think we're getting better on defense. I just think that until you make some big steps, it doesn't show in the results, but there is incremental improvement going on all over the place. I'm hoping that this week it surfaces in a way of results. It did a little bit at Purdue. We were a little bit better. We're actually a little bit better at some things Saturday, believe it or not. It's just the talent of the guy behind center really kind of negated whatever improvements we've been able to make. Like, he was special from the first drive on, but that's life. That's what you play in the Big Ten, and we just need to get better. We're to the point where we can do it against that level of competition and be successful defensively. So that's our hope this week. Certainly have a huge challenge. Young quarterback, but immensely talented. We know him well. We recruited him at a Bishop Spalding High School, a great program down there. Malik is everything you want in a quarterback. He's big, he's strong, got great arm talent, tremendous human being, everything you want in a quarterback. So we have our hands full. Certainly they had a tough game against a very good Indiana team. So both teams are going to be looking to come out and rebound, and that's going to be the great challenge that we're up against.
Staying on actually their quarterback, does anything that he does as a freshman really impress you, that you look at the film and you say, wow, for a guy his age, that's pretty impressive and something you don't see?
Yeah, a lot of things. Yeah, and that's the reason that he's playing. I mean, they have other quarterbacks in the program. He's a really good player. And arm talent, foot talent, noggin, the whole deal. I think he's, we thought that of him coming out of high school. We thought he was the complete package, an incredible human being too. So when you put all that together, it's what you look for in a quarterback.
Greg, a repeated pillar of the Rutgers culture is CHOP, guys focusing on their job 100% of the time. There's been a couple mental errors here and there. Why do you think guys aren't living up to that CHOP mentality?
Well, CHOP is absolutely what you say, Richie. It's the ability to stay focused on the spot over and over and over again. But human beings aren't perfect, right? So when you make mistakes as coaches, you have to evaluate the reason. Sometimes we're the reason, right? So we have to change something we're doing. Sometimes it's the player that's the reason. Sometimes it just happens. Things, sometimes the opponent makes you make a mistake. But you constantly evaluate and you just try to fix. That's what I think coaches do, is they identify and then fix.
I know the defensive line hasn't put up the raw, gaudy numbers, but a guy like Eric O'Neal has really come up and made some big plays in the last few games. How have you seen him grow as a leader in that room and as a player since he's gotten here?
I think what Eric's tried to do is really rise to the occasion of Big Ten football, and I think he's doing that every week better and better and better. He's making plays, as you said. I thought Saturday may have been his best game as a Rutgers player. Very productive. And I love the way he approaches things. He's an all about it football player. He loves football. And I do well with guys like that.
Maryland secondary's long, athletic, makes a lot of plays. What have you seen from them, and will this be one of the toughest secondaries you've played so far this year?
Without a doubt. I mean, they lead the nation in pick sixes. They have 15 interceptions in 8 games. That's outstanding, right? I mean, that's an elite level. And you hit it on the head. They're long, they're athletic, they're very well coached. I can see that. You know, I look and they understand passing concepts. They understand quarterback play. They're very disciplined in their technique. I think it's without a doubt one of the best secondaries in America.
The offense hasn't been playing at its best in the recent weeks. How do you feel like the 2 tackles, Mogiwa and Tyler Needham, adjusted to having, Needham having to move over from left to right, and then Giwa obviously getting the start on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean that was what we needed to do to get what we believed was the best 5 on the field at once, right? Certainly not ideal that Tyler has to jump to the other side. All in all, I thought Mo, for his first start, did a very good job. I mean, you're talking about a guy who was playing 1AA football, less than a year ago, and now all of a sudden he's starting left tackle in the Big Ten. So I think, again, now how can he grow? How can he build upon that this week? That's going to be the real question, and one we have to get an answer to, right? How do we make him better, incrementally better by Saturday?
Colin Weber's been starting to make a little bit of an impact more and more for the offense. But when he came here, he talked a lot about culture, about fit. What did you see from him on the flip side that made him a natural fit for the program?
Oh, I love the kid. I mean, just from the minute I talked to him, he was driving home from Charlotte to Michigan, and we talked on the phone for like 40 minutes. And I hung up the phone. Like, when I've been doing as long as I have, I turned to Eric Joseph, said, we got to get that kid. That kid's got to be on our team. And I was so excited when he decided to come here. It would have been easier maybe to go to Michigan State or somewhere closer to home. And the fact that he came here meant a lot to me. And he's been a tremendous fit, a tremendous addition to the offense. We're fortunate to have him.
I know you're busy, but I guess you're not surprised about Kyle Monungai's performance this past week?
Oh, I was so excited. Everybody was texting me, and I had texted him before the game, like just what I used to tell him before we played. No flowery message. And it was funny. He hits me back with the same thing you say back to me. And I was not shocked one bit. As I've said to everybody when he was coming out, and some listened and some didn't, was the way he ran in the Big Ten is exactly how he's going to run in the National Football League. And having coached in the National Football League, I know what works in that league at running back, and he's what works. He is. I heard their coach on one of the clips say he's hard to take down. That's who Kyle is. He's not gonna. I told him he's not gonna be 4-4. That's not who he is. He's hard to get down, and really pleased for him. Pleased for the Bears. I have a special place in my heart for that organization. Worked there early in my career. Was really excited when Kyle got his opportunity there, and excited for him now.
What have you seen from Farrell Nago and the way he's taken advantage of the opportunities he's gotten? I apologize.
Very good, very, very good, young, talented player. He's only going to get better and better. I can't wait to see him after an off season with Coach Brown in the weight room. He's already made huge strides, but as you can tell, he's very comfortable out there. He's a mature guy. I know you probably, I think he visited with you guys after the game, right? At the podium or no? No, okay. I thought he did that.
He came here last week.
Oh, last week. Okay, I get confused. But a very, very smart kid and a really fine athlete.
The Big Ten designated this game against Maryland as a rivalry. What are your kind of thoughts on the Big Ten designating rivalries? And do you think this could be a trophy game? I know we ask you this every year.
Yeah. Again, I think we're such neophytes in this league. And until you win games at a consistent rate over time and you have contests with people, who knows, it could, right? Right now we've played each other 5 times. They have the lead 3-2, right? So could that become, when you go back and forth in recruiting, could that become a rivalry? Sure. I don't think you can tell somebody this game's a rivalry. I know the reason we do it, and I'm fine with that. But rivalries happen organically over time, And usually they're over tough ball games, tough recruiting battles. But we'll see. I'm worried about one thing: 2:30 kickoff, having this team ready to go, and all the rest of the stuff is fluff.
Final question.
This is probably more of an off-season big picture look, but having lost Doug Blue Eli for the season, having Darrell miss 5 or 6 games, having Braxton Kyle out for the year, how much do you think those injuries at interior of the defensive line have impacted the defense's ability to play this year?
Look, I think every time you lose a talented player, it has an effect. But you're right; that is 100% an off-season question. And look, there's a lot of things that are off-season questions. Right now, we have one thing, one mission, and that's 2:30 Maryland, and the time that we have to prepare that's left. But certainly we'll talk about all that. I don't mean to sidestep your question, but now it's blinders. Thank you, guys.
That was Greg Schiano at the podium today, talking about Maryland, talking about a bunch of topics.
We have a fourth co-host today.
Yeah, we got a fourth co-host. Chet's about to jump off on that, but that's okay. Hold on one second. Some of the things that I thought were super interesting about what Greg said. I didn't realize that Rutgers recruited Malik Washington out of high school. Richie, we weren't really super in on him, right? I guess Schiano, they must have offered him and wanted him, but he was never seriously considering the Scarlet Knights, right?
They were one of the first programs to offer him. They weren't the first. I don't even think they were second. I think it was Virginia Tech, Rutgers, and Maryland.
Okay.
He was gift wrapped into Maryland from the get-go. Like, Under Armour paid a significant money to keep him at Archbishop Spalding and prevent him from going elsewhere. Who does Under Armour sponsor? Who's Under Armour's CEO, owner, whatever you want to call him? It's all Maryland connected. He was going to Maryland from the get. It didn't really matter. The only option that he actually considered really heavily was Penn State. But Penn State actually turned him down for your favorite quarterback of all time, Ethan Grunkemeyer.
Ethan Stunkemeyer, whatever we want to call him. That was a terrible nickname, but there's got to be a... Let's move on.
I might have been
Richie,
Beckham Kritzer, actually. But either way, they just passed on him, so it didn't matter.
you asked Greg a question about the chop mentality and why that kind of wasn't permeating through, and I think he did a good job of sidestepping that. But it's clear that, for whatever reason, there's a lack of attention to detail and a lack of discipline on this defense that has been persistent. So I guess he talks about consistency. If you're consistently inconsistent, are you consistent? Anyway, I'll let you guys think about that one.
Consistently in a bad way, I mean.
Alec, you asked a question to Greg specifically about Eric O'Neal, and he was very complimentary about the senior edge rusher. Somebody also asked a question about Colin Weber, and he was similarly, effusive with the praise about Colin Weber and how badly he wanted him out of the portal. And then, of course, somebody asked him about Kyle Monungai and his standout performance. And, we didn't have a chance to really mention Kyle on either the previous pods from this week, but do want to give a big shout out to Kyle Monungai. For those who have been living under a rock the last few days, he got the start with the Chicago Bears over the weekend. His first career start, had 176 rushing yards on 26 attempts, 3 catches for 22 yards. And I think he might have earned a ton more playing time even when DeAndre Swift comes back. I know I kind of hit a lot of those high-level topics from the presser, but Alec, I'll let you start. What was something that stood out to you, even if it's something that I kind of breezed through already?
Kyle also got a shout out from one Freddie Gibbs, the very well-known rapper. I thought that was pretty cool. I think he's a Bears fan too. It was nothing really overly groundbreaking today. Just that, obviously he's very complimentary of the opposing quarterback, Malik Washington, as he always is. I thought one thing that he said was interesting when Richie asked about the rivalry. Like, he's one of those people that believes, like, you can't really, the rivalry has to come naturally. It can't really get told when a rivalry is formed or whatever, even though it's kind of, I feel like it's been twice now that the Big Ten has told Rutgers and Maryland that they're rivals. So, whatever. We were talking after the press conference with us and some of the other people that were there. When was the last time? I don't think Rutgers has beaten Maryland at home since they've been in the Big Ten. I could be wrong there, because 2014 was on the road when they came back from down 25. 2015 was they blew like a 18, 20-point lead or something like that, which was the last game that Kyle Flood coached at Rutgers.
2017.
That's right. That was the blackout game. That was the Gus Edwards game. All right, so they have beaten them one time at home.
But there have been exciting games too. So like I
Yeah.
don't understand how you can't. I know people don't want it to be the rival, but coming into the conference together geographically, Greg said it himself. They're recruiting similar prospects too. Like I feel like this has to be a rivalry at this point.
Yeah, I think
It's
his
the
point
closest
was
thing
more
Rutgers
so.
has to one.
Yes, I think his point more so was like if the conference is like appointing a rival, that doesn't just mean it's automatically a rivalry. Like it has to come through like good football games, which
But they've been good. They've been fun.
yeah, over the last 10 years there have been good amount of those.
I don't know. I think there should be a rivalry personally. Like there's just
Yeah.
there's too much to it. Just put a trophy in front of it. Put something stupid. Make it funny. Have some
It's
fun
all
with it.
trophy talk. Yeah, all trophy
The
talk
minute-
this week. We asked Kelly's in this
Yeah.
earlier on yesterday. If you want to watch that again,
The minute you put it into a trophy, I feel like everyone's just going to buy into it and just be like, this game means more. Also, if you're going to call it a rivalry, don't put it to anywhere near not the last game of the season.
yes.
Anyway,
Although the Penn State Oregon one was technically a Venmo rivalry game, and that was like
stupid.
2 months ago, a month and a half ago. James
That's
Franklin was still
impossible
coaching.
because you guys might not know this, but Penn State famously unrivaled. So
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Also, Michigan State. I mean, what wasn't one of the weird rivals like the Land Grant Trophy with Michigan State?
Yeah, you ever see that thing? The thing's got like 18 different decorations on it on just a giant wooden thing. A dresser.
Doesn't-
It looks like a dresser.
Doesn't Michigan State have like 3 different trophy games?
Believe
so.
so. Paul Bunyan's.
Axe,
No, that's
yeah.
not. That's not him. That's not Michigan State, is it?
Or that's Minnesota and Wisconsin.
Minnesota and Michigan State have
Yep.
something. I think they have a barrel.
Yeah.
with
The
the pig on
barrel.
the oaken barrel thing.
Yes. Or the old oaken bucket, maybe.
I forget, but
I don't know. But there's the Big Ten has so many rivalries, so many trophies. It's about
it
time
makes it
Rutgers
more
got in
fun.
on the action.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
have some fun with it.
I think
Play
Iowa
for
literally
the-
has 5 trophy games.
That's who I was thinking of. Iowa has an absurd.
That's
The Big Ten
absurd.
West in general just has so many trophy games.
Yep.
Anyways, that was really the main thing that stuck out to me.
How about you, Rich? What stood out to you from Greg's presser?
There's nothing really. It's a lot of words, no substance. It's the same thing every week. It's like and I know people are going to get mad at us for not asking like the questions that they posted. I ask people for questions, but when you say stuff like, "Hey, why is your defense like the worst in the world?" Like I need better than that to ask. I'm willing to ask them whatever. I don't care, but I'm not going to go up there and sound like an idiot and get eviscerated like Bill O'Brien just did to some other poor reporter. There has to be some like reasoning behind it, and it's tough when it's an away game specifically, because I would love to ask him about a specific game and a specific play in that game. I know people wanted to know about like the fair catch late in the second quarter, but you can't ask that like 4 days later, 5 days later, when his mind is all shifted straight to Maryland. He's going to answer nothing but Maryland questions. Now the culture one I tried to ask, but it just, number one, it didn't come out perfectly. I struggled with that one. Number two, he just doesn't answer anything. Like it's just like chop, 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 chop. On top of that all, we discussed this before the press conference. This might have been the other day though. If you chop a tree in the same spot every time, that's not the right way to do it. It's going to fall at you or fall towards whatever you're behind you, your house, your car, another tree. Like it's just a bad idea. So you got to kind of put it on an angle.
Then you just got to keep chopping as it's falling on you, so it doesn't fall on you.
So the chop mentality is just not depicted accurately. Let's just say it. And you could see it this season.
Well, maybe you can hit the same spot on the tree, but from different angles. Maybe that's a big part of it.
Yeah, that's. I think that's what they're.
I know.
they're getting
I'm
at.
just being annoying. But.
You're just goofing. All right, let's pivot to some around the Big Ten talk. There's really only 2 games that happened this past weekend that have any relevance to Rutgers moving forward. We'll start with the game with our opponent for Saturday's game, which was Indiana and Maryland. Early on in this game, and you'll have to forgive us because when we recorded our post game, this was still very much up in the air, because if you look at how this game started, Maryland put up a fight. They got an interception early on in this game. Fernando Mendoza returned it down inside the 10-yard line, and they stalled out. I guess inside the 12, my bad. They kicked the field goal. Then they forced a 3-and-out with a couple sacks on Fernando Mendoza. And then, as you can tell, things did not go Maryland's way from the second quarter on. Indiana, I mean, anybody in the the national sphere who talks about Indiana not being a national title threat is just talking out of their ass. They are. This has got to be the most impressive coaching job in my lifetime. What Kurt Cignetti's been able to do in Bloomington, but Maryland just could not get out of their own way. Really, from the second quarter on, Malik Washington threw a couple of interceptions. He got sacked a bunch of times. And they just kind of really weren't able to move the ball on the ground once again. They had 37 rushing yards on 17 attempts. They're still going to be a very tough team, and I think you can see with how the line movements happened, where Rutgers started as a 1.5 point favorite, now they are a 1.5 point underdog. That this isn't going to be an easy game. They turned the ball over 5 times against Indiana. What did you guys notice about this Indiana-Maryland game that we should watch out for, and maybe will be important to kind of follow for next week or for this week for us?
Not specifically about this game, because Malik Washington, I shouldn't even say this season, because Malik Washington really hasn't used his legs all that much, but he is crazy athletic. This is a guy that was playing at high level at EYBL, AAU basketball like 2 years ago with Team Mellor. Like he's very talented. He's very athletic. And Greg kind of mentioned his running ability for a split second, but he has mobility. Like, do not count him out on that. They're going to be a problem on their offense and Rutgers defense, but I feel like you could have inserted any team there and said that will be a problem for Rutgers defense. So I do think he's going to be a serious threat. They're not afraid to throw the ball, as you could see, put up 31 pass attempts against Indiana, but they're going to be a problem. This is not going to be an easy one for Rutgers whatsoever. And if it gets into a shootout, I'm almost inclined to take the freshman quarterback over Rutgers offense, because they just can't come back from behind. Once they're behind like 7-10 points even, it's very hard for them to come back. Like, they just aren't able to put anything together. And you saw that last week when they went up with the 2 field goals on the first 2 of the first 4 drives. So it's going to be tough for Rutgers.
I guess I would counter that with Maryland has been unable to play with a lead for that's 4 years now. So it's going to be interesting to see how this game really gets started and who kind of takes that first punch. Because, I mean, like we've talked about, it's no longer September. Maryland and Mike Locksley have tailed off just like they do every year. So if Maryland gets a big lead early, how does Rutgers respond to that? And, we've seen them, if they get up in a game like that Washington game, they had a 20-point lead, and I think they threw the ball 4 times or they ran the ball 4 times in the entire second half. Even the game last year in College Park, I feel like I could be misremembering, but didn't Maryland get off to at least somewhat of a lead in that game too? And then Rutgers just eventually just clamped down and shut them down from there. I mean, granted, it's a much different team now, but still, I'm very curious to see if Maryland does take a lead, because Rutgers has started slow in the past 4 games, honestly. Since that Washington game, they have not gotten off to a fast start since. How do they respond to that? And how does Maryland try to hold on to the lead? Because, I mean, you're looking at it right now with the schedule. They haven't won a game since beating Wisconsin, who might be the worst Power 4 team in the country. How do they handle that? And can Rutgers, can they stop making the same mental and execution errors, or can they at least make less than Maryland? Because that was how they won the Purdue game. I wouldn't even say they made less. They just allowed Purdue to make the last one. So that's most likely what this game is going to come down to.
Rutgers was down 3-0 at the end of the first, up 14-10 at the end of the second, down 21-17, or up 21-17 at the end of the third, and that's when they kind of just pulled away. So Maryland never really – they had a 3-0 lead. That's about it.
So Maryland hasn't won a game in 38 days, which is crazy to think about. Almost 6 weeks. And I'm surprised that Malik Washington I've only watched a couple full games for Maryland this year. He is definitely more of a pocket passer than a guy like DeMond Williams, if you just kind of look at the numbers. But he does scramble and he does extend plays. So he is pretty mobile. He just doesn't really take off a ton. He's only been sacked twice on the season, and he's rushed the ball 27 times for 99 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Big Ten play, he's got a total of 6 passing touchdowns and 4 interceptions in 5 games rather. It's just like he's just a young player, and it's tough to get a really significant read on him. He can be kind of scattershot with his accuracy. I think if Rutgers can kind of take away his first reads, maybe they'll have a better opportunity to kind of have success against a guy like Malik Washington, because obviously they've struggled mightily to win games over the last 6 weeks. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting game, to say the least.
On top of it all, sorry, go on.
I was going to say that Washington game, he threw 49 passes and averaged like 6 yards per attempt. That's kind of crazy to me in 2025.
Yeah. Mike Loxley's also coaching for his job at this point, whereas Greg Schiano technically, I would say, isn't. So it means a little bit more for Maryland. They're on that 4-game skid, like you said. So it's like they need to win this game, basically, if they want to somehow keep their job.
They have almost as narrow of a path to making a bowl as Rutgers does when you look at who they have left on their schedule. Maryland has got to see Rutgers as maybe its second easiest game remaining, other than Michigan State. Playing at Illinois is going to be tough. Home against Michigan. They really need to win this Rutgers game as bad as Rutgers needs to win it. So both teams backs against the wall this Saturday. So we'll see who's the more desperate team.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other relevant game for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Ohio State played Penn State coming off a bye at the Horseshoe. Penn State lost 38-14 in a game where I think Penn State was a 20.5-point underdog. So Ohio State barely covered. Penn State put up a good fight in this one, though. If you look at just how the game started, it was a 17-14 game at halftime, and then Penn State kind of ran out of gas. Really, it's just the Penn State running game got a little bit more activated against Ohio State than they have been in recent memory, or in recent games, rather. You could see that Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton split is continuing to grow, with Katron Allen now taking about 80% of the carries, and Ethan Grunkenmeyer still continuing to kind of just be like not a middling quarterback who's not able to push the ball downfield. Ohio State, I was surprised that Penn State put up as good of a fight as they did in this one. What do you guys think of this outcome?
Ohio State's defense is just extremely dominant, even like in games where they're giving up yards, like some yards. I shouldn't even say that much because it was only 3.5 yards per carry in total.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's just their defense is just so good. And Julian Sand is now, I think, the favorite for the Heisman, their second highest odds for the Heisman. Like, their offense is just as good. They have the number 1 receiver in the country. Like, Bo Jackson's a really good running back. Like, there's
arguably the number 2 receiver in the country too.
Yeah, it's actually freaky how good this team is, considering they just won the chip too.
Yeah. I was also surprised how well Penn State was able to keep up. But yeah, I just feel like they're not able to push the ball downfield. They might be able to run the ball against. I mean, they should be able to run the ball against Rutgers, considering many teams have been able to. I think that's going to be the key to that game in a few weeks to end the season, is how can Rutgers contain the run game? Because if Grunkenmeyer looks like what he did against Rutgers, or against Ohio State, I should say, against Rutgers, then that's at least somewhat of a victory. The problem is Rutgers has made a habit of letting any and all quarterbacks have career best games. So that's going to be another test for this defense in the last game of the regular season. But yeah, Ohio State, it's unbelievable how talented they are. Like, they are just head and shoulders above, and you can see them and Indiana both just head and shoulders above really the rest of the country. They are just destroying teams game in, game out. The defense, I mean, I thought they were going to have a bit of a drop-off when they went from Jim Knowles, who obviously is at Penn State now too, over to Matt Patricia. But I've been pleasantly surprised how well Patricia has managed the defense. He's brought some new things in. Obviously, it didn't end very well for him in Detroit in the NFL, but yeah, there's no, about as no chance as it gets in a game. I think Rutgers has absolutely no chance in this game against Ohio State. It's just, yeah, they're too good. They're just unstoppable.
Is there a bigger fall from grace as an assistant coach this season than Jim Knowles?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. He's
making a lot of money.
Yeah. To
making a
potentially
lot
get
of money.
fired.
Yeah. No, I think if whoever they decide to be the next coach at Penn State wants to keep him, I think they'll have the latitude to do that. But I also don't think they'll be forced to keep him either.
But year 2,
because-
Jim Knowles, Mike, he's going to be better under
Yeah, we'll see.
insert FCS coach here.
Yeah, under Bob Chesney.
I think it's FBS technically, but yeah.
Yeah. I just mean like the coaches that people were throwing out there for Penn State versus the coaches that are being thrown out there now are slightly different in terms of gravitas at this point.
And Jeff Brom, Brent Key, Pat Fitzgerald.
Oh, no, that's a wild one, Pat Fitzgerald. But that is, I think, all we got for today. A little bit of a shorter episode. We'll be back later in the week for a Maryland preview to go over the game between the Terrapins and the Scarlet Knights. And, of course, any big news we will hop on as well. But that's kind of all we got. I'm still prepping a hypothetical transfer portal primer, so I want to keep that out in the ether. That'll get done in the next probably a week. Have something put together. Been working on a project to help me find portal targets a little bit easier as well, so that's kind of where I've been at. Final thoughts, guys? Anything else that we didn't touch on that you wanted to hit?
Basketball tonight, Ryder. Pretty interesting season opener. We'll I don't know if you could really gauge a team off this one just because they just got blown out earlier in the week by Virginia, Ryder.
They lost 87-53 to Virginia. Also, they had a scrimmage preseason against Rowan, who is Division III, by the way, who could be in Division I soon. That's been the rumor for the last few years. Barely won. It took a lot to beat Rowan. They ended up winning by double digits in the end. They just pulled away, but not a great team. I think Vegas prediction, because we talked about the line on it, I want to say it's around like 83-64, I think is the Vegas prediction. So I don't foresee it getting that high. Like Mike, I would definitely take the under, but I would think about maybe taking the rider against the spread as well. So yeah, currently ranked 314 in KenPom as of right now through obviously only one game, but still.
I'm so intrigued about the starting lineup. Like, I just want to know. Like, there's been so many rumors, and we've heard Dennis Badalu's starting, Dylan Grant's at Darren Buchanan's at 2, Dylan Grant's at 3. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this works. Under.
Yeah.
Bet the Runder.
Yeah.
The Runder. Oh my
The
gosh.
Rover versus the Runder, football
Rover
versus
in
basketball.
football, Runder in basketball, yeah.
Yeah. Also, the women's team started off on Monday night. They beat Wagner, also known as the worst team in the country, according to Bart Torvik. Again, that's only preseason stuff. You can only take so much, but they won 79-50. Yeah, they did win 79-50. Defense looked pretty good. They have a new assistant coach running the defense, Sean LaBeouf, who is one of the new assistants running the defense. They look pretty good. Offense left some to be desired. Granted, they are replacing their top 6 scorers from last year, but 14 turnovers, around 35% from the floor. It's a little bit too much. They're definitely gonna get tested on Thursday when they face Quinnipiac, one of the top mid majors in the country last year. So that game should be very interesting to see how that one goes.
We'll be watching intently on that one, but that is all we've got for today. Thank you once again for listening, rating, reviewing, and we put out a lot of content this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it and you haven't already followed us on your favorite podcasting platform, we'd really appreciate if you did that. We hope that you're following us on YouTube as well. If you'd like to see our beautiful faces on the screen, you can follow us on it's Rutgers Football 1. You can watch all our podcasts on there, as well as every press conference from football and basketball and all the other content. Richie does a weekly game simulation on CFB 26, and he's always putting up short clips as well. And then if you really like our content, we'd really appreciate a 5-star rating on your favorite podcasting app. Those really help grow the show and help people find it. And tell a friend, tell a family member, to help us spread it as well. But that is all we've got for real this time. For me, Richie and Alec, this has been another edition of the Knight Report podcast, signing off.